My boyfriend of 8 years cheated on me with my best friend for 2 years. I found out the night before her wedding. But when the officiant asked if anyone had objections, I stood up and exposed everything in front of 150 guests. I'm 28 years old. I run my father's office supplies company, and what happened 2 years ago at my best friend's wedding basically destroyed the entire life I had built over almost a decade. And you know what? At first I thought it was going to destroy me too. But it turns out that sometimes the worst betrayals lead you to the best places. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where this all really began, or at least where I thought my life was before everything went to hell. Andrew and I had been together for 8 years when all of this happened. 8 years, can you believe it? We met in college. We were part of this super tight friend group. You know, one of those groups you think will last forever because you went through all the important moments of life together. There were 7 of us total, 4 guys and 3 girls, and we were all inseparable. Monica was my college roommate and became my best friend, like that person you share absolutely everything with. Or so I thought, honestly. Andrew and I moved in together like 4 years ago, and honestly I thought things were going well. I mean, we had our problems like any couple, but nothing serious. You know what I mean? The only thing that really bothered me was that every time I brought up the topic of marriage, he would get super uncomfortable and change the conversation. I was 28. I wanted to start planning a real future. I wanted to get married, have kids, eventually. You know, the normal things people want. But Andrew always said it wasn't the right time, that we had time, why rush? And I, like an idiot, thought I just needed to be patient, that eventually he'd be ready. The thing is, I've suffered from migraines for years, and they're pretty bad when I get them. That detail is going to be important later, so I'm mentioning it now. I can usually manage them with medication, but sometimes they're so intense I literally can't function. I mention this because that's exactly what happened the day of Monica's wedding. Monica was getting married to Theodore, a guy who was like 60 years older than her. I know, it sounds weird, but Monica was always very practical about these things, let's say. She came from a family that didn't have much money and was always very open about wanting financial security. Theodore came from a super wealthy family and, looking back, I should have suspected something weird was going on with that whole arrangement. But at the time, I just thought Monica had found what she was looking for, and I was happy for her. The wedding was going to be at a really nice hotel, with the full ceremony and everything. There was a rehearsal dinner the night before the wedding, but I got a horrible migraine that afternoon and had to skip the dinner. I told Andrew to go without me, that I just needed to rest in the hotel room. He kind of hesitated a bit, but eventually left, and I stayed in the room, taking my medications and trying to make the pain go away. Around 9 at night I realized I had run out of pills and needed more, because I felt like the migraine was going to get worse. There was a pharmacy a few blocks from the hotel, so I went down to the parking lot to go buy more medication. And that's where everything changed. Literally in 1 second, my entire life turned upside down. I saw my car, a 2018 blue Honda Civic, parked in the back part of the parking lot where there was little light, and there were 2 people inside. At first, I couldn't see clearly who they were because of the distance and low light, but something in my stomach told me to get closer, and when I got close enough, I saw them. Andrew and Monica, kissing, in my car, in the parking lot of the hotel where she was supposed to get married the next day. I don't know how long I stood there. Honestly, it could have been a minute or 10 minutes. I have no idea. I felt like someone had hit me in the chest with a baseball bat. I couldn't breathe properly, and the migraine I already had suddenly got 10 times worse. But the weird thing is, I didn't start crying or screaming or anything like that. I just stood there, watching them, trying to process what I was seeing because my brain literally couldn't accept that it was real. They separated after a while, and Monica got out of the car first, fixing her dress and hair. Andrew got out a few seconds later. Neither of them saw me because I was kind of hidden between 2 cars. I watched them walk back to the hotel, laughing about something, super calm like nothing happened, and I was still standing there, feeling like I was going to throw up. I didn't go to the pharmacy. Instead, I went up to the hotel but didn't go back to my room. I don't know why, but something made me walk down the hallway toward where I knew the friend group had their rooms reserved. And then I heard voices coming from one of the rooms. The door was slightly open. I recognized the voices. It was all our friends, and they were talking about me. Rebecca, one of the girls in the group, was saying something like, "I can't believe Grace still hasn't figured it out," and everyone was laughing. Someone else, I think it was one of the guys, but I'm not sure, said, "Poor Grace. Andrew and Monica have been doing it for like 2 years already. And she still thinks Andrew is going to propose to her someday." And everyone laughed again, like it was the funniest joke in the world. I stood there listening as they kept talking, revealing more and more details that everyone knew, that they'd been covering for them for 2 years, that they made fun of me behind my back all this time, that Andrew had told them he would never marry me because I was too boring, too focused on work, too traditional, that Monica said I was too naive, and that's why it was so easy to fool me. That's when I cried, but silently, leaning against the hallway wall, not from sadness, I think, but from pure rage. 8 years with Andrew, my entire adult life with this person, and my best friend, the person I trusted most in the world after my family, and all our friends, people I considered my second family. Everyone knew. Everyone had been lying to me. Everyone was laughing at me. But you know what? In that moment, something in me kind of turned off and turned on at the same time. You know what I mean? The part of me that was the naive and trusting Grace died right there in that hallway. And the part of me that woke up was furious and ready to do something about it. I went back to my room, and Andrew was already there, lying on the bed looking at his phone. He asked me how my migraine was and if I had gotten the medication. I told him yes, that I felt better. And he smiled and kissed me on the forehead. A kiss on the forehead. After having been making out with Monica in my car an hour earlier. The audacity of this guy. Literally. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I stayed awake planning exactly what I was going to do. Because I wasn't going to let them get away. With it just like that, I wasn't going to be the pathetic victim everyone laughed at. If they were going to destroy my life, I was going to destroy theirs too. Or at least, I was going to make them pay for what they did. The next morning, I acted completely normal. I got dressed for the wedding, did my makeup, smiled, talked to Monica while she was getting ready as a bridesmaid. She was super excited about her wedding, talking about how perfect everything was going to be, how happy she was, and I just nodded and smiled, thinking about what was going to happen in a few hours. The ceremony was at noon in the hotel garden. There were like 150 guests, mostly Theodore's family and business people, plus some of Monica's friends and our college people. Everything was decorated super nice, with white flowers everywhere and elegant chairs. Monica looked beautiful in her wedding dress. I'm not going to lie. And Theodore was standing there at the altar, waiting for her, all proud, in his expensive suit. During the ceremony, the officiant did that part where they ask if anyone has any reason why these two should not be married. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Normally nobody says anything, right? It's just a formality. But I raised my hand. The silence that followed was absolute. Monica looked at me with her eyes super wide. Andrew, who was sitting next to me because obviously he didn't know anything about what I was going to do, grabbed my arm and whispered, "Grace, what are you doing?" But I stood up and walked to the front. I stood there in front of all those guests and said, "I have something to say." My voice came out much firmer than I expected, and then I told everything. That the bride had been having an affair with my boyfriend for 2 years. That my boyfriend, Andrew, raise your hand so everyone knows who you are, honey, had been cheating on me all this time with my best friend, while all our friends knew about it and laughed at me behind my back. That Monica, this beautiful bride standing here, had been sleeping with my boyfriend until last night, literally the night before her wedding. Monica started screaming that I was crazy, that I was making things up because I was jealous. Andrew stood up and tried to get to me, but some of the groomsmen stopped him. Our friends from the group were sitting there with faces of absolute panic. And Theodore, the groom, stayed completely still for a moment, and then looked at Monica and asked her, "Is this true?" Monica tried to deny it, but I kept talking. I said I had seen them last night in my car in the parking lot, that I had text messages if anyone wanted to see them. Although it was a lie, but nobody knew that. That the whole friend group knew and had been covering for them. Theodore turned around and just left. He walked down the aisle between all the chairs and got in his car and left. Just like that. He left Monica standing there in her wedding dress in front of all the guests, and I turned around and left too, while behind me everything was total chaos. Monica crying, Andrew yelling at me, the guests murmuring and taking out their phones to record everything. I went up to my room, grabbed my suitcase that I had already packed that morning before the ceremony because I knew I wasn't going back to that room after what I was going to do, and drove back home. 3 hours driving alone, crying half the way, and feeling strangely free the other half. Andrew called me like 50 times that day. I answered once and he was furious, yelling at me that I had destroyed Monica's life. How dare I do that? And that's when he told me the truth about Monica's wedding. That it wasn't a real love wedding. That Monica and Theodore had an arrangement, like an open marriage where she got financial security and he got a young trophy wife for social events. That Theodore knew Monica had other interests, but the rule was to be discreet. And I had exposed everything publicly in front of his family and his business partners. And you know what? I didn't feel bad. Not at all. I told Andrew to come pick up his stuff whenever he wanted and hung up. I sent him a text message days later telling him he had 2 weeks to pick up everything or I was going to donate it. I blocked all our friends from the group except Andrew because I needed to coordinate about his stuff. And I started the horrible process of untangling my life from his. Canceling shared bank accounts, taking his name off house utilities, all those practical and horrible things you have to do when you end an 8-year relationship. Andrew showed up like 9 days later to pick up his stuff. He tried to talk to me. To explain himself. He told me that the thing with Monica didn't mean anything. That it had been a mistake. That it had only been going on for a few months. I showed him my phone where I had written down everything I had heard that night at the hotel, including the part where they said it had been 2 years. He told me I was also to blame because I was never emotionally available, because I was always working, because I wasn't adventurous enough in bed. Basically, he tried to make it all my fault. I told him to leave and to never contact me again. I blocked him from everything, same as the others. And then I started the process of rebuilding my life from scratch at 28 years old. The first few months were horrible. I'm not going to lie. I cried a lot. I felt lonely. I questioned everything. Had I been the problem? Was there something wrong with me? Why had this happened to me? But my family was incredible. My parents, my siblings, everyone was there for me. And my dad especially helped me so much because working with him at the company gave me something to focus on that wasn't my destroyed personal life. I started going to the gym because I needed to get all that rage and energy out somehow. At first, I just walked on the treadmill while I cried, literally with headphones on crying while I walked. But eventually I started running, and then I started lifting weights, and suddenly exercise became my escape. It helped me sleep better. It made me feel physically stronger, and that kind of translated to feeling emotionally stronger too. I also started writing in a journal. Every night I wrote about what I had felt that day, what I had learned, what I wanted for my future. And slowly, very slowly, I started to feel better. It's been 2 years since all that. 2 years that honestly have been the most transformative of my life. My dad's company is growing a ton and I've taken on more responsibilities. I'm basically managing the entire operations side now. I became super dedicated to fitness. I go to the gym 5 times a week, and I even participated in a half-marathon competition last year. I have new friends, people I met at the gym and at work, networking events, people who have no connection to my previous life. On Andrew and Monica's side, I found out from a mutual Fermuse acquaintance that they got married like 6 months after all the drama. I guess once everything came out, they decided they didn't even have to hide anymore. But they got divorced before they hit 1 year of marriage. I don't know the details, and honestly, I'm not interested in knowing them. I blocked them from all social media and from my life in general. Like 4 months ago, I started dating someone new. His name is Daniel, and I met him at an industry event. He's completely different from Andrew in every way. He's open about his feelings. He tells me all the time how much he likes me. He asks me about my future plans and shares his with me. When I told him the whole Andrew and Monica story, his reaction was to hug me and tell me that anyone who treated me like that was an idiot. He didn't try to minimize what happened or make me feel like I had any blame. And the craziest thing of all is that Daniel talks about marriage and family as something he definitely wants in his future. And he doesn't get weird when I talk about it too. It's refreshing to be with someone who's on the same page as you, who doesn't make you feel like wanting normal things is asking for too much. I'm not going to say I'm completely over it or that I don't still have difficult moments, because I do. Sometimes I still get that feeling of betrayal, especially when I think about all those years I wasted with Andrew or how Monica was supposedly my best friend and lied to my face every day for 2 years. But most of the time, I'm fine. Better than fine, honestly. What happened at that wedding was probably the most dramatic and crazy thing I've done in my life, and I don't regret it one bit. Was it vengeful? Absolutely. Was it petty? Maybe. But it was also necessary for me. I needed to take control of the situation and not be the passive victim everyone thought I was. I needed them to feel even a fraction of the humiliation and pain I felt. And in the end, that ruined wedding was the beginning of something better for me. It forced me to let go of all the toxic people in my life, in one fell swoop. It gave me the opportunity to reinvent myself and discover who I was without Andrew, without Monica, without that friend group who were never really my friends to begin with. So yes, I destroyed a wedding. I exposed an affair in front of 150 people. I caused drama the size of the universe. And I would do it exactly the same way if I could go back in time. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't living well. It's making sure the people who hurt you pay for what they did. And then, after that, living well anyway.